Good evening, YouTube. At least where I am, it's evening. I just got off of work, maybe like about an hour ago. And I wasn't gonna post a video, but I guess something in me wants to post it, wants to share this. And it's probably because of a video I posted yesterday about being a chosen one or being among the spiritually elite. It was a short and sweet video, and basically, if you haven't watched it, it was just me saying that they don't exist. And I felt like maybe I should explain a little bit more. And in order for me to explain, I'm gonna start at the beginning of my spiritual awakening. Because at the beginning of my spiritual awakening, there wasn't a lot of people around me that I felt were awakened, you know? People weren't seeing angel numbers, they weren't experiencing out-of-body experiences. They all just kind of seemed, for lack of a better word, asleep. And as someone who is new to that type of experience, and being surrounded by people that I felt didn't understand it, I couldn't help but feel special. Feel chosen in a sense. Felt like maybe that I was among the 144,000 souls that came to Earth to awaken other people, to raise the frequency of the Earth. And my awakening happened before a lot of this became mainstream. It wasn't until more recently that I started to hear about the 144,000 or see chosen ones used a lot in YouTube videos or on thumbnails. But nonetheless, the feeling is the same. How I felt is the same. And it's been almost 10 years now since my first experience awakening. And I stand by what I said in the last video, is that I don't believe that that's true. I think when we think about being chosen or among the 144,000 souls that have come here to awaken, it almost creates like this hierarchy in a spiritual sense. It implies that there are enlightened souls, and then there are souls that are asleep that need the enlightened ones. And I think that way of looking at spirituality is how we look at the 3D world. The 3D world has created hierarchy. We are the human part of ourselves, whatever you want to call it, that created hierarchy. It created systems of moving up the ranks. And I don't think our souls, our spirits, work like that. I don't think that there is a hierarchy in the spiritual world. There's no spiritual celebrities. There's no chosen souls that came here to rescue humanity. Humans are a creature that naturally tells stories, and it's through stories how we understand the world. And it's been that way since the dawn of our time. We have told stories. You can see it on caves. The pictures that we drew, they were telling a story. And we do it in everyday life. When we're explaining what happened to us, when we're talking about our day to our loved ones, we're telling a story. And we tend to do the same thing when we're trying to figure out aspects of ourselves or trying to explain phenomenon that otherwise is unexplainable. We tell a story. And I feel like a lot of people in the spiritual community are telling the story that they are chosen ones. And that story, like I kind of said before, it implies a hierarchy. It implies souls above other souls. It feeds a spiritual ego, in my opinion. And you might not feel like you're feeding a spiritual ego. You might not feel like your belief in being a chosen one comes from an egoic place. But I don't think you can help but feel above other people, even if it's subconsciously, if you believe you are chosen and then that there are people that are not chosen. I believe that everyone has a soul, and every soul is on their own journey. And I believe all souls will awaken, but that doesn't necessarily mean they will all awaken in this lifetime. And just because you wake up does not make your soul more valuable than a soul that has not woken up. And I feel like saying woken up is tricky, because I don't think any soul is ever really asleep. Or we're always asleep and we're always waking up. The example I have is that a child is maybe asleep or ignorant of the functionings of the world, but as we grow older, we begin to understand that. We become enlightened about the world. And as we grow into adults, we have an understanding of how the world works a little better. I think the same thing happens spiritually. We are always awakening and we're always asleep. There's always going to be an aspect that we're unaware of or that we're becoming aware of. And honestly, I think that's the main message I have. The main thoughts I wanted to share is that labeling ourselves as a chosen one or among a minority that has come to rescue Earth is just feeding our ego. And I know when we're waking up spiritually, we don't want to admit that we have an ego. We want to believe that we have transcended our ego. But that is literally impossible as long as we are a human. We are always going to have an ego. The only thing that changes is that we tend to identify less with the ego as we go deeper into ourselves, as we awaken more. The ego doesn't have a strong hold on us. It becomes more translucent, malleable, porous, but it's always still there. So maybe what I want to leave you with is maybe ask yourself, how does believing that you're chosen, or among a spiritual minority affect how you relate to people who you don't think are spiritual or that aren't chosen? I can promise you in some sense you're looking down on them, and that's just not it. Anyway, peace and love. Till next time.